Entities in the airline business appeared before the Portfolio Committee on Trade, Industry and Competition and the Portfolio Committee on Transport today to discuss competition matters in the low-cost airline industry, including pricing factors. Last year, the committee called for an investigation into ticket prices, accusing airlines of price gouging. Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Trade, Industry and Competition, Mzwandile Masina, joins me now live. A very good afternoon to you, Mr. Masina. Thank you very much for your time. I touched on it, but give us a bit of a background to how you got to the decision that you should call these industry players to come and appear before you.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to explain to the people of South Africa. As you know, that Parliament is an institution of the people. So it's always important to listen to some of the issues that our people are raising in different communities. There was a very big outcry in terms of the price, especially for what we called the low-cost airlines that are advertising, for instance, a ticket at $5.99. But by the time you purchase the ticket and you appear at the airport, you pay almost 1.8. So we have to really take a deep look into what are the issues that are confronting this. So the first point, obviously, was to then invite a joint portfolio committee of trade and industry, because we have instruments such as the Competition Commission as well as the National Consumer Commission, together with all the entities that are responsible for the air freight, just to understand from the side of government whether or not there are no impediments that are making these airlines to be much more expensive. So I'm happy to say today that we met with the Department of Transport, the AXA, as well as the ATNS, the South African Civil Aviation Authority, as well as the two competition commissions, the National Consumer Commission and the Competition Commission. The idea there really was to just check whether or not these government entities are talking to each other, what are the fee structure that they levy these airlines, so that by the time we speak to the airlines themselves, we're much more empowered as a portfolio committees of trade as well as transport. I'm happy that we're able to ask the most difficult questions into these entities, and we got a sense that there is a lacuna in law, so we'll have to do our bit to make sure that we cover some of the areas so that we can ensure that the final consumer is protected from the exorbitant fees that are being paid.
What is the sense from the Competition Commission about how and pricing is done and whether or not they are being fair to the consumer?
Look, there's a number of issues. There are a lot of hidden fees which we don't get to see in our ticket. So each and every institution levies some fees, which that fees is passing to the consumer. But the only thing that we don't understand why there is no transparency, so that when you purchase a ticket, you must know the actual value of the ticket that you are purchasing. So with the information that we received today, we're in a much more stronger position now to explore options in Parliament on how we can then directly interact with the airline industries. I must hasten to say that since 1990, there's been about 21 airlines that have penetrated the market after the SAA. Almost all of them have gone down. We are left with 7 over time. They've come at different times. So the market has not been easy. But secondly, throughout this process, SAA, through deregulation in the 90s, was literally, affected. And that's why we had problems of sustainability. So these are the issues that we are looking at, so that amongst many things that we do, even though we accept competition, we make sure that the national flag does not collapse. So we're happy with the information we have that we can now confront the actual industry. So we're looking at various options, including, for instance, either asking the Competition Commission or Consumer Commission, they are ongoing investigation, to ask them to enlarge the scope, or the other alternative that was explored today is whether or not we could not look into a parliamentary inquiry into this matter, so that we can make sure that the majority of our people can have access to airlines.
Now, when are the airlines themselves going to appear before you?
We have now referred the issue to the legal team of Parliament to advise us on the best possible option. And we think that the information that we receive from these entities of DOT is sufficient for us then to forge ahead. I can say that in the next quarter or so, we would have called the airlines as promised, but it was important that the starting point, we understand the cost structure on our side, and we're able also to raise other critical issues. For instance, one of the, in 2001, if you can go back to 2001, SAA, for instance, was doing what was called code sharing, where, for instance, in Nigeria, between US and Nigeria, we could move cargo. All those efforts were abandoned. So we needed to understand what were the issues that made even the national carrier to suffer the way they did. But also other issues were more on the actual ticket and the cost price per unit, as to understand which items are expensive from the side of the either the baggage handling, either the parking, fuel. But it was shown to us that fuel is the main cost driver. Other costs are there, but they are quite reasonable compared to other areas in the continent. So we're quite happy to look into those figures. So we'll be able now to ask very much pointed questions into these airlines. What was much more disturbing, though, were a lot of allegations that came out of the committee meeting with regards to FlySafair in terms of their market conduct. For instance, overbooking of flights with a view of taking down the price, disadvantaging those that are supposed to be catching the flight to either work or destination of their choices. So this is one area that is being looked at now by the National Consumer Commission, so that we can ascertain that that conduct does not occur in the main. The other issue that was raised quite strongly was the issue of ownership, that we talk about the juristic person in South Africa, not about shares or trust. We want the real person. So in terms of our laws, the airline should be foreign owned by 25%. It was alleged that the FlySafair, as an example, is 75%. Is more than 75% owned by foreign. So all those things are issues that are going to be investigated, so that we can come to the bottom of this. But other airlines too, like Lyft, like Airlink, we are going to be looking into their conduct. For instance, there was a strategic alliance that between SA Express and Airlink, which in our view, we've requested the information from AXA now, how it benefited the private airline in the form of Airlink.
Just quickly on with regard to AXA, who you've just mentioned, as well as ATNS. Any new issues here? And mind you, ATNS's CEO was recently suspended for not doing her work, allegedly. Yes,
there were a lot of issues that were raised. Apparently, there was an article I did not see in the Citizens. So some of the members had already spoken about that issue. We have since requested that we be given a full report in terms of the activities, because many of the staff, they are acting, but we will get that particular report to my co-chair, Honorable Donald Mzwandile, who is responsible for this portfolio. Our preoccupation was more on the price structure and issues of competition that we needed to deal with.
On a different matter, now that I have you, I know that ArcelorMittal appeared before you a week ago or so, if I'm not mistaken. And that meeting was not open to us, the media, because ArcelorMittal wanted confidentiality agreed. But with what you know, what they told you last week and their announcement yesterday, that they are holding back on closing down. What can you share with us? Well, first, your reaction to their decision, and secondly, what can you share with us from the conversations that you've been having with them?
Thank you very much. We are very happy with that particular decision of holding back until the negotiations are completed, so that there is a sense, because 3,500 jobs are at stake here. So that's why it was important for us as a portfolio committee to do our oversight and engage them. What I know is that there is high-level talks between government and ArcelorMittal. Firstly, but the preoccupation or the orientation is more on ensuring that the steel industry does not disappear in South Africa. So the preoccupation of government is to ensure more than just being obsessed with an enterprise itself, is the issue of ensuring that the steel industry is strengthened, and then, you know, because if we want to embark on massive infrastructure build program, we need the steel. So we said that we must do everything possible to ensure that we don't create ghost town in Vereeniging and Newcastle. So the issue, as you know, that ISCO was a state-owned company. So we are looking at different other options in which we do not create ghost town in terms of those issues. But with regard to the details, I think the minister and the senior leadership is dealing with those matters. As you know, the reason why we had to accept the meeting that was closed session is because this entity is a listed entity, and there are a lot of other sensitive market issues that we did not want to compromise. So we are giving them, we've agreed in terms of the time period between the minister and the team that is negotiating over the next 30 days or so to ensure that there is public pronouncement with regard to the nature of the deal.
So Mzwandile Masina, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it.